When did a suburban mom and a package thief tank your Etsy sales? Oh my god, I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire. But I just found out the reason my Etsy sales tanked this month has literally nothing to do with me or my products, and everything to do with a competitive suburban mom and potentially a 63-year-old package thief. NGL, I'm sitting here at 3:17 a.m. in my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic in the Costco parking lot because I cannot face my apartment right now. I just need to type this out before I completely lose it. Tell me I'm not crazy, please. Okay, deep breaths. Context. I'm Olivia Campbell, 59F. Yes, 59, I know, but I feel 30 inside except for the back pain. I run a pretty niche Etsy shop called The Unruly Needle. I knit and crochet slightly subversive, slightly vulgar fiber art. Think very sweet-looking tea cozies that say things like, "I'm only here for the alcohol," or cross-stitch samplers with quotes from George Carlin. It's my happy place, my retirement gig, since I was basically laid off 2 years ago from my administrative job on the 5th floor of that sad office building downtown. This shop is everything. It pays for my Talenti gelato habit and helps with the $1,247 monthly rent for my apartment 3B. I am also an atheist, which, trust me, is relevant because I come from a family so religious they think watching Netflix is a direct pathway to eternal damnation. My mom, Laura Green, 65F, has basically spent the last 20 years trying to save my soul, which means every time I go home to Westfield, I have to field sermons disguised as dinner conversation. It's exhausting but necessary because she's the only one who babysits my cat, Chairman Meow. So, the drama started 3 weeks ago, right after I launched my new line of blasphemy beanies. Cute, chunky, but with little hidden scripture misquotes that only true Bible nerds or apostates like me would catch. They were selling like crazy. I was having a banner month. I mean, Friday the 11th, I had $600 in sales before 11:47 a.m. My iPhone 14 battery was dying from all the PayPal notifications. I was thinking, maybe I can finally afford that 2-night trip to the coast I've been eyeing. But then, Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, everything just stopped. Total silence, 0 sales, 0 favorites, 0 messages. At first, I thought maybe Etsy's algorithm was having one of its notorious temper tantrums. I checked my SEO, polished the photos, lowered the price on the slightly sinful socks. Nothing. For 5 days. 5 days of silence. The only charge I had was a $43.67 grocery bill at Trader Joe's and the $4.99 I spent on a Ben and Jerry's pint because I was stress eating. I started panicking. I have $5,000 tied up in the stock market, mostly in tech stocks that my broker swore were sure things. Spoiler alert, they were not sure things. The market has been absolutely tanking lately. I looked at my brokerage app on Monday and saw I was down $1,800 just in the last week. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up. I needed the Etsy income to balance out that stress. I needed it to be dependable. Went in a full-on detective mode. I checked my shop listings. Everything looked fine. Then I went to the dreaded review section. Readers, this is where the story gets absolutely insane. I had 5 new 1-star reviews posted over a span of about 48 hours. 5, my average rating dropped from 4.8 to 4.1. I felt the chest tightness immediately. My hands started shaking so badly I dropped my AirPods case. I looked at the reviews. Weren't just bad, they were malicious, and they were all basically saying the same thing. User A, NickQueen62, wrote, "The craftsmanship is shoddy, the colors are dull, and the seller rude. My package was delayed by WEKS and she refused to apologize. I had to pay extra shipping to get it to my daughter. Do not buy from this shop." User B, Crafty Mimi, wrote, "Cheap yarn smells like mold and smoke. Absolutely unacceptable quality for this price. Seller ignores messages. Total scam artist, beware." User C, Needlepoint Annie, wrote, "This is a disgrace. The item was nothing like pictured. It arrived damaged and missing pieces. I tried to contact the seller 27 times in 1 hour. Literally, I counted and received silence. I am reporting this shop. 27 calls in 1 hour? I literally never even received a message from that user. I looked at my Etsy inbox history, my personal email, and even checked the spam folder. Silence. I felt the denial setting in hard. This can't be real. I started bargaining. Maybe I accidentally messed up the settings. Maybe it's a glitch. Maybe they got the wrong shop. But the worst one was from Laura G, posted just yesterday morning. Laura G wrote, "As a fellow fiber artist, I am appalled by the lack of integrity here. This seller took my money and never sent the product. When I tried to resolve it, she mocked my religious beliefs. This is hateful and unprofessional. Should be shut down. My competitive product is much better quality and my shipping is always on time." Wait, stop the whole damn story. Laura G, I looked at the profile picture. It was grainy, but I recognized the signature silver bob and the slightly smug smile. It was my mother, Laura Green, 65F. My jaw literally dropped. I stood up so fast from the kitchen table in apartment 3B, I knocked over my half-full mug of cold Starbucks coffee. My mom. Laura, the woman who forces me to sit through church services whenever I visit, the woman who texts me, "Have you found Jesus yet, honey?" Every Sunday was writing scathing, factually incorrect 1-star reviews on my small, struggling business. And she was openly admitting to being a competitive product. I felt the rage rush through me. The audacity. The sheer competitive audacity. I immediately texted her. It was Tuesday around 5:30 p.m. "Hey mom, what the hell is Laura G on Etsy?" Her instant response, "Read receipts on, of course. Oh, hi dear. Getting ready for Bible study. Is everything okay? I'm having pot roast tonight. Do you need the recipe, me?" "No, I don't need the pot roast recipe. Did you leave a 1-star review on my Etsy shop accusing me of mocking your religion and stealing your money?" Her. "Well, Olivia, I did express my concerns. I was simply reviewing your business model honestly. You know my shop, Heavenly Hook, is doing very well. We believe in traditional values and prompt shipping." Me, "Your shop? Mom, you sell knitted toilet paper covers. What money did I steal? And I haven't talked about religion with you since Christmas. Now Olivia, don't be dramatic. I ordered one of those vulgar little coasters you make. It never arrived. I waited 3 days. 3 days is ample time. Frankly, the atheistic theme of your whole shop is problematic, especially with the way the market is trending right now. People want moral investment, not blasphemy. I'm just trying to guide you. I was shaking. I was so angry I could barely type. The phone was slipping in my sweaty palm. Me? You left a 1-star review saying I mocked your beliefs because your order didn't arrive after 3 days? Do you know how shipping works? And you called yourself a competitive product. Trying to sabotage me? Sabotage is such a strong word, dear. I prefer the term strategic redirection. If you would only start making prayer shawls instead of those tacky swear word pillows, you wouldn't have this issue. I wanted to throw my iPhone through the window. I really did. I didn't even respond. I just blocked her number right then and there. I needed air. I needed to process that my own mother was trying to destroy my livelihood because I wouldn't knit Jesus iconography. This is the stuff that gives therapists material for years, TBH. But here is where the plot thickens and where the false accusations really start to destroy my entire business. I was so focused on the Laura problem, I almost missed the deeper implications of the other 4 reviews. They all mentioned missing or damaged packages, poor customer service, and delayed shipping. I ship everything using USPS first class, and I always get tracking. Went back through my shipping manifest from the last month. Every single one of those 5 critical reviews was tied to a package that, according to the tracking number, had been delivered and sitting on the customer's porch. This is where Stephanie Nguyen, 63F, enters the chat. Stephanie was the customer tied to the Knit Queen 62 review, the one who claimed her package was delayed by weeks. The tracking showed it was delivered on Tuesday, 10:15 a.m., 7 days earlier. I decided to be professional and utterly relentless. I composed a very carefully worded email to Stephanie, CCing Etsy support, laying out the tracking information and photos of the packaged item. I wrote, "Dear Stephanie, thank you for your feedback. I was very concerned to read your review. Please be aware that tracking number 94,1,118,995,655,512 indicates your package was successfully delivered to your mailbox at 10:15 a.m. on Tuesday, October 24th. If you believe this delivery notification is erroneous, or if the package was stolen, I highly recommend contacting your local post office and filing a police report. My shop policy clearly states I am not responsible for theft after delivery. Here's a link to the USPS claim page. I hit send and leaned back, expecting maybe a snarky reply or an immediate dispute. I got a reply 15 minutes later, but it wasn't from Stephanie. It was from Stephanie's son, Ken. Ken wrote, "Ms. Campbell, my mother's distraught. You are lying about this tracking number. We have a Ring doorbell camera and my mother has checked the footage for that entire day. Nothing was delivered. The only package we received that day was the Costco order. Your item was not delivered. Stop trying to gaslight my elderly mother. We are leaving another negative review and reporting you to the Better Business Bureau for fraud." Okay, now my stomach was doing backflips again. The Ring doorbell footage, that is concrete evidence. I felt that awful wave of panic mixed with embarrassment. Had I messed up the labels? Did the USPS driver scan it delivered when they were still on the truck? I decided to check the tracking number one more time, really digging into the details provided by the USPS site. The address was correct. The time was correct. The GPS location of the scan was correct. 1450 Elm Street. I realized I had hit a dead end with the customer, so I did what any semi-retired, anxious woman with too much time and a knack for stalking, research would do. I went to Facebook. I found Stephanie Nguyen's 63F profile, standard suburban mom profile, pictures of grandchildren, casseroles, and gardening, and also posted on her timeline just 3 days ago, a long rant about package theft. The post read, "Can you believe the nerve of people? Had a pricey Amazon delivery stolen right off my porch yesterday afternoon. This is the 3rd time this month. People are so brazen. Why doesn't the Postal Service do anything about this? I'm seriously considering turning off my location sharing on my iPhone because I'm so worried about privacy. A pricey Amazon delivery. Stolen. 3rd time this month. Wait, if she knew her Amazon package was stolen, why was she accusing me, Olivia Campbell, of lying about my delivery? She had Ring footage showing nothing was delivered. How did she know the Amazon package was stolen? The math wasn't mathing, you know? Then I remembered Ken's email. The only package we received that day was the Costco order. I realized I needed more information about their specific delivery routine. This was crossing the line into mild obsession, I know, but my shop ratings were crashing, the false accusations were mounting, and my stock portfolio was plummeting faster than Wile E. Coyote off a cliff. I was losing money on 2 fronts. I felt desperate. I logged into my friend's younger cousin's Instagram account, don't ask, and did some deep social media diving around the 1450 Elm Street neighborhood. It took me 2 hours, fueled by a half-eaten Chipotle burrito bowl, but I found it. A neighborhood Facebook group called Westchester Porch Watch. Right there, pinned at the top, was a post from September 10th. Attention neighbors, we are having a massive spike in package theft, particularly for smaller boxes and envelopes delivered between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Please check your Ring footage and notify the group. We are particularly trying to catch the woman in the beat-up silver minivan. Okay, this confirmed the neighborhood issue. I scrolled down through the comments. Hundreds of complaints. Then I saw a thread from 3 days ago discussing a particularly brazen theft caught on camera. User, Sarah J. Did anyone else see the clip from the Peterson's Ring feed? The woman literally drove up, grabbed the package, and drove away. She was wearing that ridiculous orange baseball cap. User, Mike K. That was the same woman who stole the package from my porch last month. It was right after I got home from my 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift. She must be tracking deliveries. User Stephanie N. I wish I had her luck. My package never arrived. These sellers need to use better carriers. I'm reporting them all. Wait a minute. Stephanie Nguyen was claiming her package never arrived, yet she was commenting in a thread about a package theft caught on Ring camera. I went back to the specific tracking for Stephanie's order. Delivered Tuesday, 10:15 a.m. I went back to Ken's email. We have a Ring doorbell camera and my mother has checked the footage for that entire day. Nothing was delivered. Something clicked. Everything finally clicked, and I felt so stupid for not seeing it immediately. The packages were being delivered. They were being stolen almost immediately. But Stephanie wasn't accepting responsibility for the theft, and she certainly wasn't going to file an insurance claim or a police report, especially if it involved submitting video evidence. Why? Because that would mean admitting someone came onto her property and stole something. If she had a history of theft, as her own post indicated, filing a police report every week is a major hassle. It was easier, cleaner, and far more convenient for her to simply lie to the seller, claim the package was never delivered, and demand a refund or a replacement. She was falsely accusing the sellers, me, Nick Queen 62's seller, Crafty Mimi's seller, of being fraudulent or incompetent, all to avoid admitting she lived on a block with chronic package theft. The Ring camera footage, she wasn't checking it to see if the carrier dropped it off. She was checking it to make sure the carrier didn't catch the thief or to make sure that she hadn't somehow lost the package herself. I was spiraling. I typed out a new email to Ken, deciding to hit him with the social media evidence. I wasn't going to accuse his mother of lying, but I was going to push back on the nothing was delivered narrative. Me, Ken, I understand your concern. However, based on the numerous local reports of theft in your immediate area, which I found in the Westchester Porch Watch group, it is highly likely the package was delivered and subsequently stolen. I am attaching screenshots of your mother's recent Facebook posts detailing these thefts. Filing a police report is essential here. I am happy to provide the tracking number and detailed proof of postage for that report. However, I cannot issue a refund for items marked delivered that are subject to porch piracy. I waited. This felt like a professional boundary I needed to set, regardless of how much my anxiety was screaming at me. Ken's reply came through about an hour ago. It was brief and furious. Ken, this is harassment. You have no right accessing my mother's private social media. This is an invasion of privacy. We are contacting our lawyer. We're clearly running a scam operation, and we will ensure you are shut down. Expect to hear from our legal team. My immediate physical reaction was to panic. Lawyer, I'm 59 and running a business out of my apartment. I can't afford a lawyer. I just lost $1,800 in the stock market. I was worried I might actually puke up the remnants of that Chipotle. I got up, grabbed my keys, and bolted. That's why I'm sitting here in the Costco parking lot at 3:30 a.m., trying to figure out if I just need to shut down the unruly needle forever. I started rereading all the reviews, including Laura's, trying to figure out how to claw my reputation back. I realized that my mom, Laura Green, was the least of my problems. She was just a disgruntled rival. Stephanie Nguyen was potentially the head of a massive false accusation ring designed to get free products because she lived in a theft-prone area. But then I saw it. The common denominator. The first 3 malicious reviews, Nick Queen 62, Stephanie, Crafty Mimi, and Needlepoint Nanny, all mentioned package issues and poor customer service. But the reviews from Crafty Mimi and Needlepoint Nanny also specifically mentioned the seller ignoring their messages. I had proven I didn't ignore Stephanie. Tracking was proof. So I look back at the tracking for Crafty Mimi and Needlepoint Nanny. Both of their packages were also marked delivered on the exact same day, Tuesday 10:15 a.m., Tuesday 10:15 a.m., 3 different customers, 3 different states, all claiming non-delivery, all delivered at the exact same moment. Wait, no, that can't be right. I checked the tracking details again. Stephanie Nick Queen 62 was delivered Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. in Florida. Crafty Mimi was delivered Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. in Texas. Needlepoint Nanny was delivered Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. in California. This is statistically impossible unless the post office is run by time travelers. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I felt the blood draining from my face. I remembered the text message I sent to my mom about the vulgar little coasters she ordered. She said, I ordered one of those vulgar little coasters you make. It never arrived. I waited 3 days. I had sent her one of those coasters as a peace offering after a particularly tense conversation about my refusal to attend their Easter service. I had shipped it separately 4 days before the main batch went out. I went back to my shipping manifest. I found the entry for Laura Green's coaster. Delivered, Friday, 11:32 a.m., to Laura Green's house in Westfield. Laura told me it never arrived. Stephanie said hers never arrived. 2 other people said theirs never arrived, and all the tracking looked incredibly suspicious, like someone had cloned the confirmation data. My mind started putting pieces together that I didn't want to see. Laura Green, my mom, the competitive fiber artist, was claiming non-delivery for a package that was delivered to her own home. Stephanie Nguyen, the alleged package stealer, or at least package theft victim who lies, was claiming non-delivery. And what did Ken accuse me of? You have no right accessing my mother's private social media. And Laura's review specifically mentioned, this seller took my money and never sent the product. When I tried to resolve it, she mocked my religious beliefs. I didn't mock her beliefs until after her review was already written, and only in a private text message. How did she know I was going to mock her beliefs? I went back to the tracking data, focusing on the coordinates of the delivery scan, even though the USPS site only shows rough coordinates. I clicked on Laura Green's package delivery location. It showed the coordinates for Westfield. Correct. I clicked on Stephanie Nguyen's package delivery location. It showed the coordinates for Florida. Correct. I clicked on Crafty Mimi, Texas. Correct. Then I checked the time stamp again. All 10:15 a.m. Except my mom's, which was 11:32 a.m. I noticed something terrifying. On the tracking page, there was a tiny, easily missed notification at the bottom under the delivery confirmation. Location sharing off. This usually means the postal carrier was running a standard route and the mobile device used for the scan had its GPS disabled for a moment, or they were deep inside an apartment complex. But wait, my mom's iPhone is constantly pinging her location for my religious family to make sure she's not secretly ordering cocktails at the bar. She never turns location sharing off, ever. I suddenly had a truly horrifying realization about how these packages, Laura's, Stephanie's, and the others, could all be tied together, and how someone could manipulate the delivery confirmation data, especially the suspicious 10:15 a.m. cluster. If someone had access to the customer's location data, they could essentially game the system. But who and why? Then I remembered the central conflict, the stock market loss, my $5,000 investment, the $1,800 I lost in 2 weeks. I had entrusted that money to my cousin Eric, who's a very devout Christian, which is probably why my mom liked him so much. Eric, who started working part-time for USPS to pay off his BMW he can't afford, right around the time my Etsy shop started shipping large numbers of packages. Eric, who lives one town over from my mother, Laura Green, in Westfield. Eric, who is a postal carrier and had texted me a month ago complaining about having to turn his find my iPhone off while on the job because management is tracking our every move. It's tyranny. Location sharing off. Eric, who has a history of telling me that the only way to succeed in business is to eliminate your competition before they eliminate you, a sentiment my mother Laura would absolutely agree with. I checked my phone again. No missed calls, but my battery was at 3%. I scrolled back through my texts with Eric from last month. Eric texted, "Hey, I saw your package volume is huge this month. Just checking in to make sure everything is running smoothly with delivery. TW, what exactly are you selling now?" Mom said something about vulgar stitching. My blood went cold. I ran to the back of the Costco lot, where the Wi-Fi signal was surprisingly strong, and pulled up Eric's Facebook profile. I scrolled down. His profile picture was him standing next to a beat-up silver minivan. The same beat-up silver minivan mentioned in the Westchester Porch Watch group. I suddenly felt like I couldn't breathe. Rage was gone, replaced by this terrifying clarity. My mother, Laura Green, the competitive fiber artist, was the one person who knew exactly when and what I shipped. Eric, my stock-losing, competitive cousin, was a USPS carrier with access to tracking information and a silver minivan. And Stephanie Nguyen, 63F, was claiming non-delivery and making false accusations because someone was actively stealing the packages off her porch. I had to be sure. I had to know if Eric was involved in the thefts, or if he was simply trying to sabotage my business with fake tracking and delayed shipping to please my hyper-religious mother, who wanted to crush her atheist rival. I had to find out what location sharing off really meant in this context, and who was actually benefiting from the package theft, because it felt bigger than just Stephanie getting a free coaster. It felt like a calculated attempt to destroy my business, tied directly to my family's religious disapproval and my financial vulnerability. I decided I needed to get the hard evidence from my mother's house. I needed to see that coaster she claimed never arrived. If I could prove the coaster was delivered, I could prove the malicious intent. I turned the key in the ignition. I was shaking, but determined. I drove straight toward Westfield. I was done being the victim of false accusations and family drama. I am about 10 minutes from my mom's house now. It's 4:05 a.m. The neighborhood is silent. I'm going to park down the street and sneak up to her porch. I know the gate code. I need to know the truth. Was Eric stealing the packages or just manipulating the delivery data to create fake claims against me? But then I saw a light, her kitchen light. Parked right across the street in the shadow of a massive oak tree was a beat-up silver minivan. My hands clenched the steering wheel. I need to know what's going on. I'm going in. Wish me luck. I'll post part 2 when I get out of this alive. Y'all are not going to believe what happened after I hit send on that last post from the Costco parking lot. Seriously. I reread the ending of my last confession and it sounds like a bad straight-to-DVD thriller, but honestly, it was worse in person. I was sitting in my Civic, heart hammering, 10 minutes from my mother's house in Westfield, staring at the silver minivan parked under that giant oak tree like it was some kind of harbinger of doom. It was 4:05 a.m. The light was on in my mother's kitchen. I drove past my mom's house slowly, coasting into the cul-de-sac. I didn't park on her street. I parked 2 streets over, near the entrance of the development, and cut my engine. I grabbed my phone, turned the brightness way down, and put it in my coat pocket. I know her house layout like the back of my hand. The porch is small, covered by a little awning. The gate code to the side yard is 1957, the year she and my father got married. The only way to the back door is through that side yard. I crept back toward her street. The minivan was still there. I ducked behind a line of ornamental juniper bushes, trying to look casual, which is impossible for a 59-year-old woman in leggings and a coffee-stained sweater at 4 a.m. I felt ridiculous, but also utterly terrified and determined. This was my livelihood. I wasn't letting my family destroy the unruly needle over knitted swear words in Jesus. I got to the side gate. I entered 1957. Click. Success. I slipped into the yard. It was freezing cold and the damp grass soaked through my socks immediately. I kept low, moving toward the kitchen window. The light was bright yellow. I peeked over the low windowsill, expecting to see my mom sipping lukewarm decaf and preparing her sermon notes for Sunday school. Instead, I saw chaos. The kitchen table was covered in papers. Not just regular papers, but stacks of shipping manifests, printouts of Etsy listings, and a laptop that was clearly showing the Unruly Needle shop page. Mom, Laura Green, was sitting there, wearing her fuzzy purple robe and thick reading glasses. And across from her, running a manicured hand through his slightly greasy blonde hair, was Eric, my cousin, the USPS carrier, the stock market expert, the owner of the silver minivan. Eric was talking quickly, whispering, but the kitchen fan was off and the window was slightly ajar, probably because Mom had burned the midnight pot roast leftovers or something. I pressed my ear closer to the glass. Look, Aunt Laura, I told you, the location sharing error is temporary. I just need to get through these last few weeks of high volume. I can only turn the GPS off on the scanner for a few minutes on my route or the supervisor flags it. But Eric, Mom whined, her voice high and tight. You promised me that if I gave you the list of her customers in the high theft areas, you would ensure the packages disappeared smoothly. The 1-star reviews are working, but she's fighting back now. Is contacting Stephanie Nguyen's son? I almost gasped out loud. High theft areas, my customer list. My mother gave him my customer list. Eric slammed his hand softly on the table. I know, Ken is annoying, he's always online. But I told you Stephanie Nguyen is perfect. She has package theft history, she claims everything is missing anyway, and she has that Ring camera. The minute I scan it delivered right outside her house, the system flags it. And I swing by in the minivan 15 minutes later and grab it before she notices. She automatically blames the seller, which is Olivia, which helps Heavenly Hook's ranking. My jaw dropped. He wasn't just manipulating data, he was actively committing porch piracy. He was stealing my products to frame me, and my mother was the mastermind. The false accusations weren't just Stephanie lying, they were orchestrated crimes. And what about the tracking data mix-up? Mom asked, pointing at the laptop screen showing the suspiciously identical 10:15 a.m. delivery scans for Texas, California, and Florida. Eric leaned back, looking smug. That was genius, right? I used a dummy tracking number generator and cloned the delivered status into the system for those smaller orders. They were all scheduled for my route anyway, but I just held them back, scanned them, delivered using the dummy data, and then shipped them 3 days late via regular mail. Customers get the package eventually, but they're already furious because the tracking showed it delivered 3 days earlier in a different state. Instant 1-star review citing, delayed shipping, and poor communication. This wasn't sabotage. This was racketeering. Organized crime run by a 65-year-old competitive knitting mom and her morally bankrupt postal carrier cousin. And my coaster. Mom asked, picking up a bright yellow knitted coaster that definitely said, I'm only here for the alcohol in tiny black script. The very coaster I had shipped her 4 days before the main batch. Eric looked irritated. Look, I screwed up with yours, Aunt Laura. I scanned it delivered, but I forgot to take it off your porch. You had to retrieve it yourself, which is why your review was based on the fact it didn't arrive, even though it was right there. Just waited 3 days like you told Olivia, and then wrote the review, right? Mom nodded, picking at the yarn. Of course, I need to maintain consistency. I can't let her think I'm not committed to helping your investment portfolio recover. I felt the bottom drop out of my world. The market loss, the $1,800 I was panicking about, wasn't just a loss. It was the leverage they were using. Eric was doing this criminal activity not just to crush my atheist shop, but to help my mother's business thrive and maybe, just maybe, get some kickbacks from her or desperately try to cover his own colossal financial mistakes. I realized I had enough. I had the physical evidence of the missing coaster right there in her hands, and I had the verbal confession. I needed to document this. I carefully pulled out my iPhone 14. My hands were shaking too much to film. I fumbled with the settings, accidentally turning on the flashlight for a terrifying second before quickly shutting it off. I managed to silently open the voice recorder app and place the phone gently on the window ledge, pressing it right up against the slight gap in the window frame. I needed one more crucial piece of information. And Eric, Mom asked, lowering her voice again, you really think if we get Olivia shut down, the algorithm will favor Heavenly Hook? Just hit 500 sales this week. Eric grinned, finally looking like the predatory stockbroker he tried to be. Absolutely. She has high visibility in the fiber art niche. You eliminate her, you capture her atheist apostate audience, and all those 1-star reviews will drag her shop into the black hole of Etsy search results. Plus, the money is tight, Aunt Laura. I need this postal job bonus, and I need to stop bleeding cash from those tech stocks. Down $2,500 now, not just the $1,800 you know about. $2,500. He lost even more than I did. That explained the desperation. My phone registered 7 minutes of audio. I carefully retrieved it, slipped it back into my pocket, and slowly backed away from the window. The plan to sneak in and check the porch was utterly useless now. I had something far better, a full confession of fraud, theft, and conspiracy. I crept back through the yard, opened and gently closed the gate, and then power walked back to my Civic. I didn't look back at the minivan. I just needed to get away. I hit the highway and didn't slow down until I was back near my apartment building, pulling into a 24-hour Dunkin' Donuts parking lot at 5:15 a.m. I felt sick, physically ill. The betrayal was so deep it was visceral. My own mother, my cousin, committing crimes to destroy my business because of my lack of faith and their own financial greed. I called my best friend, Deb 60F, who always answers because she's always up stress reading the news. Deb, I need you. Code red. Operation Dumpster Fire just went nuclear. She answered instantly, voice rough. Olivia, what's going on? You sound like you ran a marathon. Explained everything, leaving out no detail. The Costco parking lot breakdown, the break-in, the silver minivan, the kitchen conversation, the coaster, Eric's confession about cloning tracking data and the $2,500 loss, and my mom's explicit plan to crush the unruly needle to promote Heavenly Hook. Deb was silent for a full minute after I finished. Olivia, she finally said, sounding absolutely enraged. Your mother is a criminal. Your cousin is a criminal. Committed mail fraud and conspiracy. This isn't just Etsy drama, honey. This is federal offense territory. I started crying, the dam finally breaking. I know, but Deb, he's family. And I lost all my savings in those stocks too. Now they're trying to take my job. What do I do? If I report this, Eric goes to jail, my mom goes to jail, and the whole family will excommunicate me forever. Deb was practical. Excommunication. Honey, they tried to financially ruin you because you won't knit prayer shawls. They already excommunicated you, they just hadn't finalized the paperwork yet. You have a choice. Protect your business or protect criminals who actively tried to ruin you. Also, you need to save Stephanie Nguyen. She's just an unwitting victim of a crime. That last part hit me. Stephanie Nguyen, the package stealer who was leading the false accusation charge, wasn't actually a liar about the delivery or a terrible person about filing claims. She was being systematically robbed by a USPS carrier who then manipulated the tracking data to make me look like the thief. I agreed to meet Deb at my apartment for coffee and a strategy session at 7:00 a.m. Spent the next hour transcribing the audio recording, writing down Eric's exact words. I swing by in the minivan 15 minutes later and grab it before she notices. Update. Tuesday morning, 7:45 a.m., Deb arrived with a gallon of espresso and a stack of legal pads. She insisted the first thing I had to do was secure my financial situation and protect myself from the legal threats Stephanie Nguyen's son, Ken, had made. First, Deb said, pointing at my laptop, you need to email Ken again. But this time, you don't accuse his mom of lying. You apologize for the inconvenience and tell him you have new information regarding the carrier's integrity. I crafted a carefully worded email to Ken, CCing Etsy support, the USPS Office of Inspector General, OIG, and the Westchester Porch Watch admin. To Ken, Dear Ken, I am writing to retract my earlier assumption that the package theft was due to porch piracy unconnected to the delivery process. I have uncovered highly sensitive information, including audio evidence, suggesting that the package theft and subsequent false delivery claims are part of a targeted criminal fraud scheme orchestrated by the local USPS carrier, potentially aided by family members, aimed at sabotaging my small business. Individual involved drives a beat-up silver minivan and has been identified by multiple neighborhood watch groups. This constitutes mail fraud and theft. I have filed a formal report with the USPS OIG and local law enforcement, case 2023-4581, which I filed anonymously 30 minutes ago. NGL, I was terrified. Your mother, Stephanie, is an unwitting victim in a criminal conspiracy. Please submit your ring footage for Tuesday, 10:15 a.m. to the police, as it is crucial evidence proving the package was stolen immediately after delivery by the carrier. I hit send. I was shaking, but the relief was immense. I had turned the false accusations back onto the real criminals and simultaneously cleared my shop's name regarding the fraud claims. The next issue, the stock market crash. My $1,800 loss, Eric's $2,500 loss. Eric was trading on insider knowledge, Deb said, reviewing my old texts with Eric where he gave me hot tips on the tech stocks. He clearly mismanaged his own money and then tried to steal yours back via mail fraud. He's desperate. You need to pull out immediately before you lose more. I logged into the brokerage app. My holdings were down another $150 overnight. I initiated the withdrawal of the remaining $3,050. Felt like defeat, having to liquidate the fund at a loss, but also necessary. That was the collateral damage of trusting Eric. Fast forward to Thursday afternoon, the confrontation week went by where I was a nervous wreck. I didn't hear back from Ken, but I saw a post on the Westchester Porch Watch Facebook group. Update. The woman in the silver minivan has been identified as a contract worker for USPS. Police are investigating multiple thefts. Thank you to the anonymous teepster. I felt a surge of adrenaline. The system was working. But then the family drama hit. Thursday afternoon, I received a frantic voicemail from my dad, who only calls me when mom is having a medical crisis or when she's extremely mad at me. This was the latter. Dad, voicemail 3:17 p.m. Olivia, your mother is absolutely devastated. Eric was arrested this morning. The police showed up at the postal sorting facility. He's being charged with mail fraud and theft. They said he was using some device to turn off his tracking and then scanning packages as delivered and stealing them. Your mother is hysterical. She said this is your doing. She said you are responsible for destroying his career and his faith. She says you are worse than Judas. Call her back immediately and tell her you're sorry. I deleted the voicemail immediately. I wasn't sorry. I was relieved, but heartbroken that my family would rather protect a thief than acknowledge the truth. An hour later, my mom, Laura Green, showed up at my apartment door. I hadn't seen her since before the whole Etsy fiasco began, not in person. She was wearing a perfectly pressed denim shirt and looked like a character out of a wholesome knitting magazine, but her eyes were red-rimmed and her silver bob was slightly askew. I opened the door only halfway, keeping the chain locked. Olivia Campbell, she spat, her voice tight with fury. I cannot believe the depths of depravity you have reached. Reporting your own family for a few silly packages. Mom, Eric was stealing packages and cloning tracking data to commit fraud just so you could get a competitive advantage for Heavenly Hook, I said calmly. I was surprised at how steady my voice was. I think all the panic had been replaced by cold, hard anger. He was helping me. He was helping himself because his broker gave him terrible advice, just like you received. We were in this together, she shrieked, banging her fist against the door frame. You are running a hateful, blasphemous business, and we were trying to strategically redirect you toward moral integrity and away from financial ruin. He lost $2,500 in those stocks, Mom. He was robbing people to cover his losses, I countered. I have the audio confession. Was sitting outside your kitchen window at 4 a.m. on Tuesday. I know everything. She froze. The redness drained from her face. You recorded us. 7 minutes of pure, unadulterated confirmation that you two conspired to commit mail fraud, sabotage my business, and falsely accuse innocent customers like Stephanie Nguyen of lying, I stated. I sent the audio to the USPS OIG and to the lawyer Ken contacted. Mom started pleading, her voice cracking. Olivia, honey, please. Your family, I just wanted you to succeed, but you need to be saved. You need God, and those vulgar coasters are leading people down the wrong path. No, Mom, I said, looking her straight in the eye through the gap in the door. You wanted me to fail so your toilet paper covers could thrive. You didn't want my soul saved, you wanted my market share. The reason I blocked you after your 1-star review was because you admitted you were a competitive product, which is against Etsy terms of service, by the way. You used your relationship with me to try and destroy me. I took a deep breath. Here's the deal. I am not pursuing criminal charges against you personally for conspiracy, even though I probably could. But you need to delete your Etsy shop, Heavenly Hook, permanently by the end of the day, and you need to leave me alone. If I ever hear from you again regarding my business, my faith, or my finances, the audio goes straight to the district attorney, naming you as a co-conspirator. Mom looked devastated. You're choosing money over family? No, Mom. I'm choosing integrity over family that commits crimes. Now get off my property. I closed and bolted the door. I leaned against it, shaking again, but this time from adrenaline. I had done it. Had set the boundary, and it was the hardest, most necessary thing I had ever done. Update: 3 days after the confrontation, Sunday, the silence from the family was deafening. No texts, no calls, no passive-aggressive Facebook messages about the healing power of Christ. I checked Etsy. Heavenly Hook was gone. Poof, she complied. In GL, I felt a small, ugly spike of pure satisfaction. I decided to address the Stephanie Nguyen problem directly. I needed those false accusations gone. I sent a final, professional email to Stephanie Nguyen's son, Ken. Me to Ken. I am writing to formally apologize for the distress my packages caused your mother. As per my previous email, the carrier involved was arrested on Thursday morning. The charges are mail fraud and theft. He confessed to deliberately targeting high-theft addresses, including your mother's, to create false claims against my shop. I have contacted Etsy support with the police report and the audio evidence, and they have assured me they will remove the 5 fraudulent 1-star reviews tied to this conspiracy, including your mother's, within 72 hours. I understand your desire to protect your mother, and I regret that my family's criminal activity impacted your life. As an act of goodwill and apology for the stress, I am sending a full refund for the product and the original item, which was finally retrieved from the police evidence locker and rerouted via priority mail, along with a $50 gift certificate to a local gardening store. My shop takes these matters seriously, and I hope we can resolve this peacefully. I didn't expect a reply. I just wanted to do the right thing and clear my name. The next morning, Monday, I got a text message from an unfamiliar number. Text: Ms. Campbell, this is Ken Nguyen. I spoke with the lead detective. They showed me the evidence. I am absolutely horrified. My mother is heartbroken that she unknowingly contributed to this scheme and falsely accused you. We will gladly retract the review. Please accept our sincerest apologies. My mother is currently contacting the 2 other neighborhood victims of Eric's thefts to encourage them to retract their reviews against your shop as well. Thank you for handling this with professionalism and courage. We appreciate the refund and the gift certificate. My mother loves gardening. My eyes welled up. The false accusations were melting away. Not only was Stephanie not trying to scam me, she was now actively helping me restore my shop's reputation. Financial fallout: 2 days later, the $3,050 from my brokerage account hit my bank. It was a net loss of $1,950 over the past month, factoring in the initial investment and the market drop. It hurt, but it wasn't the total ruin Eric and my mom were aiming for. The 5 fraudulent reviews were removed from my Etsy shop. My rating immediately jumped from 4.1 back up to 4.7. The algorithm noticed. Tuesday, I was shipping orders again. I had $800 in sales that week alone. The blasphemy beanies were back on top. I had to address the location sharing off detail. Eric had confessed to me that he had to physically turn off his GPS on his postal scanner to commit the fraud, but I realized I also needed a boundary using that same concept. My mother and Eric's whole campaign was built on knowing my vulnerabilities, my money troubles, my shipping routine, and my family history. Used my connection to them, specifically my mom knowing where I was constantly, to leverage their attack. I did something I never would have done before. I realized that my mom was still sharing my location via Find My iPhone because she worried about my sinful path. I logged into my settings. I permanently disabled location sharing with my family group. I didn't text anyone about it. I just did it. I felt this incredible sense of liberation. My life, my finances, my faith, or lack thereof, and my location were all officially off LIMTS. The aftermath and the messy middle: it's been about a month since Eric's arrest. He's out on bail, awaiting trial. The family group chat is silent, save for my dad occasionally posting pictures of the cat, Chairman Meow, whom mom is no longer allowed to babysit. Deb is now on cat-sitting duty. I haven't talked to my mom. I know she's mad, and she's telling the rest of the family I'm evil. My aunt texted me a novel about forgiveness, but I deleted it without reading past the first paragraph. I don't need their forgiveness. I need their respect, and they failed to provide that. My business is slowly recovering. I've switched shipping providers for high-value items, using FedEx for the port piracy-prone areas, and I've started putting a note in all my packages. If tracking shows delivered, but you did not receive it, please contact your local law enforcement, as we have recently confirmed a regional theft ring targeting small businesses. Just enough to scare off any potential Stephanie Nguyens who might actually be trying to scam me now that the real criminals are caught. I'm eating ramen every day, TBH, because the financial loss from the stock market and the legal fees for my quick consultation with a lawyer, that $300 just to confirm I was screwed if I didn't act fast, wiped out my emergency fund. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. You realize you're stronger than you thought. I am 59, running a subversive yarn business. I stood up to my criminal family, and I survived a financial collapse. I still have bad days where I think about the betrayal, where I almost drunk text Eric just to see what kind of nonsensical, self-pitying garbage he'd reply with. Phone is still in Deb's possession, thankfully. But yesterday, I found myself laughing at a stupid TikTok about a dog wearing a hat, and I realized I'm going to be okay. I'm focusing on the things I can control. Knitting better vulgar tea cozies, rebuilding my savings, and maintaining my personal boundaries. I learned that the false accusations from strangers were just noise, but the false accusations and betrayal from family were the real threat. And sometimes, setting the boundary means literally turning off your location, sharing and letting the chips fall where they may. Anyway, that's the update. I'm focusing on a new line of cross-stitch samplers. The first one says, if you can't say anything nice, at least knit it subversively. It's my new mantra. We'll update if Eric gets put in federal prison, but honestly, I hope this is the last time I have to discuss my mother's competitive crafting habits. I'm done.